that will help you overcome and strategize in the cutthroat world of real estate. Now, here are your hosts, John and Roberto.
Welcome, everybody. That's the beginning. Welcome to Boroughs and Burbs, number 90, the New Jersey show, or as my associate said, the Jersey show. And I said, I don't know if people in New Jersey like you to drop the new. So I think it's the New Jersey show. What is it, Allison? The New Jersey show?
Well, I'm a Jersey girl. I'm not a New Jersey girl. So,
okay, a Jersey girl. So this is the Jersey show. And I've got Allison Maguire and I've got Tom Crooks, both top agents in New Jersey, to help us navigate the very big and very important suburb of New York. And I'm going to want to find out how it competes with Connecticut and Long Island. I know Roberto goes out to Long Island every weekend. You know, I love Connecticut. We don't really understand New Jersey as well as we should. So that's why we're going to need your help. Scott Hobbs is with us. He's my co-host as well. He's a builder, and he thinks that New Jersey is sufficiently important to have an office there. Where's your office, Scott?
Saddle River.
Saddle River. So he builds big, fancy houses out of Saddle River. And so he's going to ask us questions about, I guess, or answer questions about the new construction market in New Jersey and how that's going. Anyway, I'd like to begin by introducing my co-host, lest I forget, Roberto Cabrera, broadcasting from our West 75th Street headquarters in Manhattan. Say hello.
My name is Roberto Cabrera. How everybody? Straight from Upper West Side.
Brown Harris Stevens, my old buddy. And I want to thank our sponsor, Grace Farms, found at gracefarms.org. And they are providing the sips, which is the tea, and the drips. And this month we're sourcing from Indonesia, full body. And we've got the source from Ethiopia, Colombia, and Indonesia. Notes of bright chocolate, citrus, and tropical fruits. I give the sips and drips as a closing gift to my clients. I give it every chance I get, and you should too. So go to gracefarms.org and check it out. And all the proceeds benefit the Design for Freedom initiative. With that, let's begin the New Jersey show, or the Jersey show. I went online and I went to look at Allison Maguire's page. What is she selling these days? And what I found was, let's see if I can share the screen, that you've got, here's your screen now. You've got a listing right here on Clarewell Avenue in Montclair. And I thought, I've heard of Montclair. Montclair is one of the fanciest towns in all of New Jersey. Got good schools, close to Manhattan. How come she's selling a 6-bedroom house on, what is that, an acre for only $1.5 million? And I thought, that's a lot of value. So tell me about this listing and where it fits into the broader picture of New Jersey. Is this the top of the market, middle of the market, bottom of the market?
I would say it's near the top of the market. And, you know, here in New Jersey, this part of New Jersey, you know, we always list lower to get higher. So I listed it at 1499, which I thought was a good realistic number, but of course we expect to get higher.
What is the what's the market look like? Is that typical that houses throughout New Jersey or only in the premium markets are selling above asking?
Yes, every I would say 9 out of 10 listings in this area where I am in, you know, northern New Jersey, outside of, you know, quick train ride into the city, sells over asking.
Okay, so it's still a hot market, and it's been this way since COVID, since before COVID?
Since before COVID, yes. We've always been a seller's market. I don't know, you know, people tell me before maybe, I don't know last time it was a buyer's market, but we are always a seller's market.
Is the expectation that this house is going to need no work, that you're going to come in and you're just going to walk in, or is this an expectation you still got to spend a couple $100,000 before you can really get in there?
You can certainly move in and live in it, but I expect that people will renovate the kitchen, update the bathrooms, Yes, so there's, it's livable, it's certainly move-in ready, and some people love it the way it is, but I expect that people will come in and do the bathrooms and the kitchen over.
But so did you price that to compete with something that's completely renovated at like 2 million?
No, I would say no, but also with the expectations that, you know, people will have to do work. You know, people will possibly pay $2 million for this house and still do the work on it.
Yeah.
So it all depends upon, you know, that person, who the buyer. But, you know, this house has great architectural detail. It's on one of the best streets in Montclair. And houses don't come up that often on the street, so it's a rare opportunity to buy on the street. So I didn't price it higher and I didn't price it lower because I thought this was the right price to get in the most number of potential buyers. But you know, someone may pay 2 million for it and spend another 300 on it, but we don't know yet.
I'm assuming your inventory is also a little bit constrained. So I'm just curious, like someone who's looking at that house has another in Montclair, they have 2 or 3 things to see, or is it more or?
Well, I think in this price point, there's 2 or 3 houses now on the market. This one is different from the others. One has actually been on for 3 weeks now, which is very, very rare. And I also believe it has to do with pricing. I think that house was priced too high to start with. It could have gotten that price or more, but you know, my theory is you can never price a house too low. You can only price it too high. And then the other houses that are slightly less than listed than the 1499, you know, they have a smaller property. They're not as walkable. You know, walkable location is very important in Montclair to the towns and to the train, you know, the town centers and the train. So I think there is competition, but it all depends if somebody wants a bigger walkable house.
Is Montclair like almost, I mean, people, I'm asking a question that's like Gramercy. People are like, I want to live in Gramercy. Gramercy is like 4 little tiny streets, Gramercy Park, and that's what it is. But people say I want to live in Gramercy, or I live in Gramercy. They live like 3 or 4 blocks from Gramercy Park. Mm-hmm. So when people are looking for Montclair, are they looking for specifically that little tiny area there, and just being just outside really isn't the same?
People are looking for Montclair. Montclair has about 35,000 people. I think we're about 3 to 4 square miles. And there's different neighborhoods all over the town. And, I don't think there's some people that just want to be walkable to the towns and the trains. And there's other people that don't really care. They'll take any house anywhere. So yeah, but people come to people that look in Montclair are also looking in Glen Ridge next door to us. They're looking in Maplewood and South Orange, and they also look in Westchester. So they're really looking for the train towns. Towns that have the trains into the city. Montclair has the direct train line right into Penn Station, or you can take it to Hoboken and then get on a path. So it's really the train towns that are the popular towns in New Jersey.
35,000 people in the town. How many households and how many did you say single family homes are on the market right now?
We have about, I would estimate about, 10,000 households.
Okay. And
at the moment, there's about 33 houses on the market that anywhere from a $250,000 condo to right now, a 1.7 house. Okay. So now I'm a little bummed out because I thought I was getting a deal, $1.5 million. I was going to get a 6-bedroom charmer in Montclair, New Jersey. And now I realize that maybe you're just teasing me. And then I'm going to have to compete for that house on the very first weekend with maybe a dozen other people. Is that right? So what happened? So now I'm going to pivot to Tom Crooks. Tom, I pulled up on my screen. Let me see if I can find it here. And Tom has, yep, here it is, a house for under $1 million. And I thought, well, that's certainly, there he is.
And then we go down there and I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Fairhaven, New Jersey.
Oh, I love Fairhaven.
Can I get $1 million house that looks like that in Fairhaven? And then I realized, oh, wait, this is what can be built. And then I thought, okay, but what you're offering isn't bad. It's a cute little house on Church Street in Fairhaven. Tom, tell me about this house. How should I think of Fairhaven generally and the market generally, and this house in particular?
Before that, can you just kind of geographically tell us where that is in relation to, say, Montclair?
So Montclair is directly west of, I'll say, yeah, probably downtown Manhattan, like Tribeca, Soho, just go completely west. We can fact check that. I guess Central Park. So where I'm currently located, it's called Two Rivers. This is a highly commutable area. There's Fairhaven, Rumson, Little Silver, Red Bank. That kind of makes up the peninsula in this section. I'll wait for John to get there on the map.
Can I put in Two Rivers, New Jersey? It is such a place.
That probably won't work. No, just put it in Fairhaven. 2 words.
Okay.
So if you're talking Rumson, you're talking south.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you would be about an hour south of me, Tom.
Oh,
It
way
varies.
down there.
Yep. So wait, you think it's way down here. So yeah, I'm right smack in the middle of that little square. And if you look, a little southwest, there's Red Bank, Rumson, Little Silver. That makes up what's commonly referred to as the peninsula, the start of the Jersey Shore. It's just a highly walkable, highly commutable, and very friendly kind of town, or I'll say cluster of towns. Fairhaven, it's extremely sought after. There's only 5 homes on the market right now out of a total of 2,071 to be exact. The average price point for a 2,200 square foot home is anywhere from the 1.3 to 1.55. Out of all the deals I'm working on right now, this is the only one that's on the market, but there's a lot that happens off market. So back in the 20s.
What is it? Wait, what does that mean? Off market? You got to know a guy?
It's not just no guy. I mean, it's not, I won't say it's competitive as like Montclair market, because at the start of COVID, I was still living in Jersey City, Hoboken. And one client wanted to go out there, and Allison, it was on Grove Street, I think it was.
Yeah, which
And
is
it
a
was
very,
and this is how insane, in a good way, I think that the Montclair, Maplewood, Glen Ridge market is. It was listed at $830,000, and we had lost a couple bidding wars. And again, remember, just at the start of COVID, we put in an offer that was absolutely ridiculous. I think it was maybe like 1.4 and change, and we were second of 23 offers. Madness.
and that's pretty standard for the Montclair market.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, it hasn't really slowed down off that. And down here, we don't have as competitive. The prices don't, I won't say they double or anything down here, but if the house is priced well, it will trade within 5 to 10%, usually generally trending over asking. Now, this listing in particular is something that a lot of people don't want. So a lot of the feeder markets that are coming in here, so Hudson County, Brooklyn, Manhattan, et cetera, they're people that want to come in and get something that's absolutely turnkey. They can afford buying in. They want to get their kids into the schools because, just like Montclair, they're some of the best in the state. You have 3 different ways of getting into the city, if you need to commute there. So there's the train, there's the ferry. If we look back at the map. So if you go a little bit north at Atlantic and Highlands area, there are multiple ports there. And that you take a C Street, they'll get you to Pier 11 in Financial District in about 50 minutes, or East 35th Street in about an hour, maybe an hour and 5. In addition to the train, there's also commuter bus, and people also drive.
Does it look like the Staten Island ferry, what I would take?
It's a lot faster and smaller.
And the train takes how long?
The train, it will bring you to Penn Station. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. And I've had, a client last year that we bought a co-op on West 13th Street. I made record time from Fairhaven to West 13th Street in 52 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's not all too bad. I mean, but you do also if you're gonna be driving that route this time of year, it's horrendous because you're dealing with the summer beach traffic.
Mhm.
But to answer your question more about this market, it's inventory has been trending down. It's about 8.5–9% year over year, since pre-COVID, but it's very competitive. Usually people are going in, like I said, 5–10% over ask, not all off their cash, but it's usually people throwing away terms. But people want to get in because it's highly walkable to everything. And Fairhaven has a great little downtown Red Bank. You have, Count Basie, tons of different restaurants. It's not every town that you can see Bon Jovi drive by in his car. You're seeing, Bruce Springsteen walk out of Count Basie. It's a cool little artsy, interesting area. But I absolutely love it, and I'm glad that Douglas Elliman's finally here.
Yeah, I almost moved to Fairhaven.
Should have.
I know, but I only, it was by word of mouth, because every time we wanted a house, it was gone before I even could get down there. It was all by word of mouth.
Yeah.
So you really have to know somebody. You have to be working with, you can't just shop the field and call listing agents. It's already too late. You have to be working with somebody who's listening at the Monday staff meeting about something that's coming up soon, right?
We had a friend that lived in Fairhaven, and it was always through him that we heard about a house that someone was thinking about selling. And, 3 or 4 times we were just that too late to get it. So it wasn't even an agent. It was, the neighbors were talking.
But now I could call Allison or I could call Tom and say, I want to be in a good school system in an hour from Manhattan, and these are my 5 towns. Can you hook me up when something comes on under $2 million? And you'll say, yep, I can get you in first. That how it works?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What are those 5 towns that I'm likely to list when I say I've been at the 92nd Street Y, and I've heard from all the other mommies, these are the 5 towns I want to be in New Jersey. This is the towns we're talking about in Manhattan. What are they saying?
Well, we are nicknamed Brooklyn West because the amount of people coming from Brooklyn to Montclair, and people just love they're not ready to make that full plunge into suburbia. So, we're very urban suburban. The New York Times said Montclair is the least suburban of suburbs, and celebrated for its culture, hip factor, and sophisticated post-city life. So, we're hip and groovy, and that's where we have cool coffee shops, and the Wellmont Theater, where great concerts, and parks for the kids. And
but Allison, I want to get my kids in this school year. You've only got 35 houses on the market. Tom's only got 5 down there in Fairhaven. If I've got to branch out a little bit, help me out here with the geography. This is usually the part in the show where Roberto says, hold on, let's back up a minute.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Can we just back up a minute and give us a bigger picture of New Jersey? What is this list of desirable towns, and what drives the choice of one over another?
Well, I would say people who want to be able to take the train, look at the same towns: Maplewood, South Orange, Glen Ridge, Montclair. And what drives them over one or the other is, where they can get a house. I have someone now that's looking in all 4 of those towns, and wherever a house comes up, they will go for that house. Glen Ridge has highly ranked schools. It's smaller. You shop and do everything in Montclair because they don't really have any, shops or.
So I'm looking at Maplewood, and I'm looking to the northeast of it at Montclair. And you're saying basically between Maplewood and Montclair, that whole group, West Orange, that's all East Orange, all of that is desirable, equally desirable.
I would say Montclair, Glen Ridge, Maplewood, and South Orange.
What about Short Hills? I lost a big client to Short Hills. I was really upset.
Yeah, Short Hills is very, very desirable. I sold a house in Short Hills last year. Short Hills is a little.
Where is it? I don't even see it.
Part of Milburn. It's an incorporated section of Milburn.
Where's Milburn?
Which is just to the left of that Maplewood there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So Milburn, I would add Milburn and Short Hills and Summit
And
to that.
Summit.
Is that fairly commutable? I mean, my client was looking for a $10 to $12 million townhouse, and we looked for 2 years. And then right as they were making an offer, COVID happened, and they went to Short Hills, and they're not coming back.
They're not coming back. Yeah, it's highly commutable. And they have great, Milburn, would go to Milburn High School, and the Milburn High School is rated always in the top 3, 4 of high schools in the state of New Jersey. And they have a train line right into Penn Station, and and then people also head towards Bergen County also, if they can't find anything, my buyers. And
Bergen being further west?
North.
Okay.
And
Up
yeah.
here?
Bergen County is right along the Hudson River from
Hudson River,
Edgewater and up.
North and northeast.
Okay, all of
Saddle
them.
River, Upper Saddle River, Wyckoff.
And Scott, that's where you have your office in Saddle River? Is that what he is?
Yep.
Okay. Why did you choose there? Just curious.
A centralized area toward the northern New Jersey spots. I mean, so not so much for necessary clientele inside of the Saddle River area, but it's a good place to be located for our markets.
Okay.
Or at least so we thought, although now we're being drawn further south.
Oh,
Interesting.
that's
Come on
interesting.
down here.
Schools are-
Tom, just curious, Tom, in your area, because you're leading towards the Jersey Shore, are there people that are buying like a second home there?
Yes, I'm actually, I was doing a punch list for a client now where they're in Rumson, which is, Rumson and Fairhaven are kind of, hand in hand, right? It's kind of like West Village and Greenwich Village, if we have to kind of compare it. Where, they share the same schools, they're phenomenal, the athletic program's incredible. Rumson's obviously you can see a lot bigger, it's more encompassing. And those homes, they vary from $800,000 to over $25 million.
Right.
They go all over the place. But to answer your questions, like I actually have someone who has probably about a $7 million home in Rumson. And if you look right over where that little fork is, where Tommy's Tap and Tavern is in Seabright, they're buying a $2.5 million new construction beach home. And it's 2.5 miles away.
Incredible.
And they keep both houses?
Keeping both houses.
Wow.
But it's kind of very common too. So one thing that Seabright, it shares the same zip code as Rumson. Seabright is kind of becoming, I don't want to put it out there just yet, but it's more along the lines of becoming a new Asbury Park. So Asbury Park's, probably about 10, 15 miles south, and there's a lot of the New York developers. I know Extel is looking at it, Casmatitis, Kushner's. There's a lot of development that's moving up the coastline there, where they're going into Long Branch, Deal, Wall, etc. But Seabright is primarily, brand new homes that were destroyed in Sandy, as well as highly, exclusive beach clubs. And that's something that we're dealing with a lot, is that someone's coming down here, they're dropping top dollar on a home. Part of the concessions that a lot of people are trying to get is, I want that beach pass that you have, it could be Chapel, Ship Ahoy, etc. I want to transfer that to me as well, because some of these beach clubs have, 5, 10, 30, I've even heard recently 13-year waiting lists.
Wow.
Goodness gracious.
And it's, a closet is $5,000 to $15,000 a year, and it goes up from there.
This doesn't sound at all like the TV show Jersey Shore.
No, that's so much further south. Like I said, I'm originally from Connecticut. That was my interpretation of, the Jersey Shore.
I'm not likely to see The Situation in Falls.
So he actually lives about 10 minutes from here. Not on.
He does.
Yeah.
Now that he's cashing
One of my
in
clients
his residuals.
gave birth to their second kid, and he happened to be in the same hospital. I was like, what, see an uncle or something? But no, he gave birth to, or his wife gave birth. Let's get that straight. In the same ward. So
That's cool.
yeah.
So Scott, where are you building? When I looked at this heat map of New Jersey, let me just show you the population density. I was trying to understand New Jersey, and I thought, well, if I was a builder, I'd probably have to start looking at all these yellow areas in order to get enough land in order to really stretch out. Is that accurate? I mean, it looks like it's pretty dense, right around, within a radius of Manhattan, a commutable radius of Manhattan. And then if I want to stretch out with 4 acres or more, 4, 10, 15 acres, I really have to go an hour and a half, 2 hours. Are the super wealthy who are building with you going further out, or are they just biting the bullet and buying multiple acres in towns like Montclair?
Well, I'd say that we haven't quite broken into the super wealthy parts in New Jersey yet, but not surprisingly, people want to live where it's most desirable. So, I mean, while you do have like a whole bunch of horse country where people will put in equestrian estates, a lot of the best homes and most expensive are in high density areas. And so you definitely have the New York City commuter types and the communities that have already been discussed. Hoboken has a whole lot of opportunity for, sort of urban side of things. The Jersey Shore, again, the more dense parts of it are where some of the most expensive work is taking place.
So of your next, say, 5 projects in New Jersey, you think they're going to be focused on a view of Manhattan or, a wonderful walkable town like Fairhaven near the water, or a great school system like Montclair, New Jersey? Where do you see your clients gravitating to now?
I mean, I think the school systems are huge. One thing that's really hard to understand about New Jersey until you really drive it is that you can get pretty far inland and still get some pretty cool views of New York City. And there's a whole lot of big, the topography is very interesting. And it provides, again, some great views of New York. And I think one of the true great parts about New Jersey is you do have a whole lot of walkable communities. So it's, in a way, it's sort of like in Westchester County, you have the same issue that I'm never sure exactly which municipality I'm in. And I feel that way a little bit in New Jersey, that sometimes it's hard to tell when you've actually changed from one town to another town. But again, there's a whole lot of really nice, cute communities, and most of them have figured out how the commute works to New York City. And, some areas, just like with other places, are more expensive than others.
So you guys have clients that are conflicted. They come, I'm conflicted. Look, I've seen things in Westchester. I'm actually considering some things in Connecticut. What is not your pitch, but what's the advantage of being in New Jersey versus those other places? If there are people that are on the fence and you feel like, look, I can actually have an impact on this decision, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to inform them of this.
I think that's much more a realtor question. We're dealing with people, by the time they get to us, they've already decided where there are, the locations.
Of course.
But
it's interesting. People that look in Montclair and this area and, Essex County, Bergen County, it sometimes depends where they work, because if you're coming from Westchester, the train just goes into Grand Central. If you're coming from New Jersey, it goes into Penn Station in Hoboken. So some people judge where they're going to live, where the train will go. If you work over by Grand Central, you may live in want to live in Westchester. If you're more midtown or downtown, you want to live in somewhere that goes into Penn Station or Hoboken. So that's believe it or not, that is a deciding factor sometimes about where someone finally decides to live. Montclair, I love selling Montclair, and we have a magnet school program where you don't have to live in the neighborhood where the school is. We have it's a choice of schools. You can put 1, 2, 3, your first choice for second choice and third choice, and it's kind of like a lottery system. And so you can live anywhere in the town, not just I want my child to go to Watchung School. I'm only going to look in this Watchung area. The Watchung School area. That doesn't happen. So you can live anywhere in Montclair and go to any school, not just a neighborhood school. So I think the magnet school program really, really draws a lot of people to Montclair. And each school has a focus: science and technology, entertainment, foreign, the international school. And so that really draws, a lot of people to Montclair, the magnet school program. So it doesn't limit where you want to live, what area of town you want to live in.
What about taxes? Can we talk about the taxes?
Yeah.
I was surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Inflated you a little bit. What is it?
Yeah, it was $20,000 in Fairhaven or Montclair when I was looking at typical. The average tax bill of a citizen of Montclair was like $22,000, and same thing in Fairhaven. And I was surprised. Should I be?
Yes and no. That's one big thing that people are kind of a little hesitant about Fairhaven. New Jersey as a whole, the taxes are relatively pretty low. Fairhaven has a pilot program where you're taxed on the assessed value of your home, and Fairhaven happens to be 100% market value. So Fairhaven's tax rate is 1.713%. You know, if you buy a home for 1.5, 5 million, whatever, your taxes are going to be based off of that, and it's reassessed every purchase, and it's reassessed every single year.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I talk to the tax assessor probably once a month, you know, just kind of see what's going on. He says there's, due to the heavy surplus in taxes, that they might lower it, but we all know that's never going to happen. We're in Montclair, and Allison, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard it's, you know, 3.4%, give or take.
Right, about 3.28, but.
Yeah, so.
But we don't reassess on we don't get reassessed on every purchase, which is really good because some houses are assessed for 800,000 and they're selling for 1 million sticks. So that would take your taxes from, you know, 25, right, to, you know, 48 or so. So we do not get reassessed on every purchase, thank God.
So so as a matter of comparison, my clients selling in New Canaan, buying in Norwalk right now at the $1 million level. We just did a CMA this weekend, and we said how in Connecticut you're assessed for 70% of market, but it's every 5 years. So you should be paying 1.5 times the assessment. Right now, we said based on the CMA, you should be paying 2 times the assessment, which lines up directly with you in New Jersey. So I'm sure that New Yorkers like Roberto are coming out to Montclair and finding that things are selling for 2 times assessment. They come out to New Canaan or Norwalk and they see things are selling for 2 times their assessment. They're selling for an average of $508 a foot for that $1 million ranch in Norwalk. Same thing in New Canaan. Are you seeing $500 a foot or higher?
At a 1.2, yeah, it's anywhere, depending on the condition, if it's newer or not, anywhere from 485 to 525 a foot. So probably like the median's right there.
And one of my New Yorker clients who comes out on the train every weekend to look at houses said $1.1 million in Norotan Heights, Darien. I know it's got great schools. I know it's so commutable, but $1.1 million for a ranch in Norotan Heights on a 1/4 acre is $670 a foot. I'm not paying $670 a foot for a 1951 ranch. So what is the comparable towns? So let me tick them off. In Connecticut, the most expensive town is Greenwich, and the average price is around $2.7 to $3 million right now to be in Greenwich. What's the equivalent in New Jersey, either on the shore or inland?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, thanks. You know,
Is that Summit, Alpine?
Well, Alpine is a whole different animal. That's all celebrities.
Yeah, so is Greenwich. Have you been to Greenwich lately? Of course. That's what I'm talking about. $3 million average. That's what you're going to get.
You know, we don't even touch, like Montclair doesn't even touch what, you know, Alpine does. Our average, you know, in the month of May, our average sale price was 1.5. In April, it was just over 1 million. So, you know, we don't have that type of inventory that has the high, you know, sale price houses. This is the best upper luxury market we've ever had, where people that own big houses are now, who never thought of moving before, are putting their houses on the market because people are out here buying. In May, this is why our sales price, average sales price went up so high. We had 4 houses that probably sold over 3 million, and that's a rarity in Montclair. You know,
so you have no towns, or you're saying Alpine is the rare exception where an average can be at the $3 million level or more?
No, there are other towns. I mean, there's you know, Franklin Lakes. There's big houses in Morristown. There's, you know, Summit, and definitely Short Hills. Yes, but
Morristown, like outside of Philadelphia, you mean?
No, Morris, not
Oh.
Moore. Morris towns.
Got it.
So yes, there are towns that have, an average of probably $3 million or more, but I don't think it's, it's not very, around here, the Bergen, Essex, Morristown, Morris County, I don't think that you're gonna, the average is not gonna be 3 million.
How about down on the water, Tom?
And Rumson's average price point is 2.3 and change. But like I said, those homes, you're dealing with the huge gamut of 800,000 to 25 million plus. So there's several sales at $3 million in Fairhaven, Little Silver, Rumson. And if we go down along the shore, Spring Lake is one of those towns that constantly hits the $3 to $4 million mark. Mantoloking, when you're going away, any desirable beach town, Cape May, etc. It's massive. I'm trying to work on an off-market deal for both sides, and Rumson on the water, and it's 8 million.
Wow.
But a lot next door is asking 2.5, and it's just a buildable lot. So those prices, they do happen quite frequently. And kind of answering back to your question, Roberto, that's a lot of tech, medical, finance money, a lot of entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of hedge fund people down here, kind of like you see in coastal Connecticut as well. There's 2 high-end people that take a helicopter. They share it from Oceanport. Because why not, right? But
They carpool or helicopter.
exactly. They're carpooling a helicopter to
Make it more affordable.
Yeah, I'm not saying all of New Jersey is like that. It's something for me because I come from southeastern Connecticut, but you do see those numbers go pretty frequently. But it's people that are buying those to be a familial estate. That's like a long-term kind of play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for 2022 for Essex County, I sold the 8th highest sales house, and it was 4 million. So it's a rarity. I'm just talking about Essex County. Once you get into Bergen and Morris County, Ocean and Monmouth, you're going to get much higher price points.
Can I ask you just price, so in Manhattan, we've kind of reached 2019 pricing level. We're maybe starting to surpass that a little bit, but we're still around 2019 pricing level. Went down and then it went way up. And then over the last year, we've kind of settled 5-10% in certain cases, depending upon what segment of the market you're in. Where are you guys in relation to 2019?
2019, Rumson, Fairhaven, Little Silver, like I said, the Two Rivers market, were up about 15 to 17%. But what I think that is that directly correlates with kind of what New York does. I think a lot of the markets like Allison's in, I see Gina, one of my colleagues who works in the Bergen County, a lot of these commutable, the outer ripples of Manhattan market, I think have been fed those higher price points due to a lot of the people, like you said, your client in Short Hills. They don't have to go to the office as much. It's more remote. They're getting more space. Instead of having a 3,000 square foot condo or co-op, they're coming down here buying, 5, 8, 10,000 square foot home. So, I think that's one thing that's driven that price point up, the averages over the year. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it all depends, month to month where we are. But on average, I think we're, probably still slightly over 219 prices. And, the problem is, and I'm sure it is with everybody, is that there's no inventory on the market. So, 33 houses in Montclair, 4 houses in Glen Ridge, 25 houses in Maplewood. I think, and South Orange has like 15, and then I know further out west, they, Bernardsville and Baskin Ridge, they even have, less, so there's not a lot of inventory. So we're having, even more multiple bids than ever on houses. And, used to we would have, 5 houses competing with 20 people. Now we have 1 house competing for 20, 20 buyers competing for 1 house.
Right. So how
That's the price of it.
What were those 2? There was Short Hills. What was on that map, on that chart? Short Hills, the United States, Short Hills, Montclair, and something else.
So this is answering the question
Rumson.
from Zillow's perspective, and they said Montclair is the orange one. So it began with the United States down here at 400,000, but Montclair, it says, is risen to a $1 million. Rumson has risen quickly to 1.7, and Short Hills also to the 1.7.
Mhm.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So because you guys are constrained, I'm just curious, how much new development do you have? Has it slowed down? Is there resistance to some of it?
We don't, in my area of, Montclair, Glen Ridge, Maplewood, South Orange, the Caldwells, we don't have a lot of, new construction. It's very rare to find it.
Why is that?
Because first of all, we don't have the land, and new construction meaning tear down and rebuild. And it's very hard to tear down houses around here.
Why? Is it a zoning thing?
Well, Glen Ridge has an historical society and Montclair doesn't, but people get very upset when people tear down old houses. And there's really no reason not to allow it. If the seller wants to do it, for the most part, he can. But people, will set up protests and really, get ugly about it. And I understand both sides, and we had a person maybe 2 years ago went up in the dark of the night and bought he bought two houses off market because he wanted a big piece of property in the estate section overlooking Manhattan, and 2 houses were torn down. Unbeknownst to the town, I do believe, I could be, and this guy wanted to build a house bigger than the White House in Montclair on 2 lots. And, wanted all these variances, and the town said no. So here he knocked on someone's door and, probably spent $5 million on these 2 houses, which these people would probably never have gotten otherwise. And now the land is just sitting there with nothing going on because the town, he can't do what he wants to do. The town won't allow him what he wants to do.
Scott, we got to find that guy's name for you.
Always happy to build a White House.
Yeah, people, and then he actually he bought the house in front of these lots because there were trees that were blocking the New York City view. So, I mean, this is all hearsay, but there are 2 empty lots that 2 houses were raised, and these houses were 1900 houses, and, great architectural detail and everything else. So
We have a lot of the same thing going on in Connecticut. I would imagine, though, that in Tom's neck of the woods, where you're close to the shore, that there's is a different attitude. I think a lot of people are saying, you know what, we have to get hurricane proof and we have to get weather proof, and therefore we're going to allow new development to take place. Is that fair?
Very fair. There's a lot of new construction. So that's what all the builders are going for. They're going door knocking themselves, because a lot of the homes in this area were originally built in the 1920s to 1950s. So you have a lot of those ranches, capes, etc. And, they're non-conforming. So they're just, undersized lots that you could build a 3,000 square foot home on them. I mean, there's plenty of new construction. I mean, the one that I was talking about in Seabright now, it's so over code with building with shear walls, steel and concrete. There's a ton of new construction. There's nothing like verticality going on unless you're in like the Asbury market or anything along those lines. But that's what everyone's competing for, is that new construction, just move in ready. And there's opportunity out there. I'd say probably about 45 to 60% of the homes that are in Fairhaven, Rumson, Little Silver have yet to be turned over in that sense. So there's plenty of room for growth too, but everyone wants top of the line everything.
Is any of the new construction not just homes, but an apartment building or a complex of condominiums or anything? Is any of that happening?
Good question. There are some townhouse condos that are coming up. It's just, say, a small block of land. They're kind of doing that little bit of the Hoboken, Jersey City, West Village. They're not so much brick or little brownstone, but they'll be, a cedar wrapped townhome. So those would be condos. There is actually a whole development going on in Rumson called Bingham Court. They're actually a collection of beautiful short colonials, but it is an HOA, which is very unconventional for this area.
Just curious, the perception of that, are they nice, or is this everybody like, do you see what they're building over there? It's awful.
They're gorgeous.
Okay.
And it's interesting, in the last probably 2 or 3 years, we've had 4 or 5 apartment complexes go up in Montclair, downtown, more in the commercial section.
Market rate, luxury, market rate, affordable, workforce?
Well, most, I would say luxury, but every house, for every, number of units that are being built, a certain amount has to be affordable housing. So.
What kind of what's the
And they're all rentals. They're all rentals too.
Oh, they're all rentals.
Yeah.
What sort of unit mix? Are they making family size? Are they making 4 bedrooms in there at all?
No, I would say mostly 1 and 2 with the rarity of 3 bedrooms.
Because they don't want to load up the schools, right?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. The local paper will always, print an article about, the feasibility study about how this is gonna, impact the number of children going to the school and the traffic coming in and out of these units. But yes, the school impact is very high on that list.
Scott Hobbs runs our affordable housing committee, and he'll be the first one to tell you that there's a long multi-year waiting list for the 3-bedroom units, not so much on the 1-bedroom units.
It's interesting. I grew up in Montclair. I went to school here, and I came back and raised my 5 kids here. And a lot of people who come back to Montclair are really upset that it's not the Montclair that it used to be. And with a lot of, first of all, what people are paying for houses, and also these, we have our first hotel in Montclair, the MC, voted #1 rooftop bar in New Jersey. But how many rooftop bars are there in New Jersey? But that all the development.
But if I go to Fall River, there's John Bon Jovi and who else did you say the Bruce? Would be it. Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to compete with that, Allison.
Cabrera,
It's interesting. We go to so many of these. We're visiting so many different cities throughout the country, and there is a growing commonality of feeling that the people that have been there for a long time, they love the progression of the city, but at the same time they yearn for what it used to be.
Yeah,
it's happening everywhere.
Yeah. We would hope that all this development that was going on would, help us with our tax rates, but that doesn't seem to happen. I think there's always that promise. Oh, let us build these apartment buildings, let us build this hotel, and your tax rate will go down. Well, it hasn't happened.
So I want to come back to this notion of off-market deals. You're scaring the heck out of me because if I want to move to New Jersey, and I know there's only 35 houses on the market in a town of 10,000 houses, and there's only 35, that's worse than Darien or New Canaan, Connecticut right now. That's a bad situation. So I would be bummed out if I was in New York or trying to move to New Jersey right now, and you told me that I had to hook up with somebody and do an off-market deal. How does that work? Because I know that agents who start advertising that they've got off-market opportunities get their hands slapped by NAR and their local MLS. So how exactly are the agents in New Jersey pulling all this off-market deals? And how do I get in on it?
Me personally, I'm not a fan of the off market. I also hate dual agency representation things. I just think it puts you in a really bad spot. It's more along the lines of just kind of re-educating your clients, because as I mentioned, the listing I have, it requires a lot of work and patience. And for someone to come in who's currently renting, they'd have to pay for the mortgage, presumably for the house, and then $500,000 to do all that work. So they're triple dipping. They can't really afford it. But part of my process with my buyers is I'm educating them and saying, listen, if you want this house, you move into it, you're going to get into a bidding war. Why don't we team up with a few builders who have already got their hands in this whole process? see what they're building, what's your price point, what's your timeline, and usually we're working something out along that way. So full disclosure, most of the things that I have off market are between my clients and the builders. And I feel like that's better because sure, it might be a little bit more of a pain for the builders. I'm sure, Scott, you could probably talk about that when someone says, I want a different countertop with sconce, whatever. It's better for my client to pay a little bit more, be some more patient, and have the product that they eventually want. And with the way the market's trending is they're agreeing to a price point, and 6 to 8, 10 months when it's built, there's going to be a bit more equity baked into the home. So they're getting exactly what they want. It's just setting an expectation and working through them patiently and diligently to get the product that they want. And I mean, I can show you my whiteboard. There's, you know, almost 35 people on that list that want to be in, you know, these 4 towns. It's impossible. A lot of them are there's, hey, Tom, you've got my listing, but you need to help me find something in town first. Like I've got 7 of those people and it's almost impossible. But that's what I mean by off market is, you know, just really doing the work, going old school, going door knocking if I have to. It's like, hey, you want to be on the street? Come with me. We're going to go act like fools and, you know, say, you want to buy this house, and that's working.
Yeah. You know, in this area where, you know, I service, you know, a lot of times when someone says, oh, I don't want to put my house on the market. I don't want, you know, people coming through it. I don't want people, you know, I want my privacy. Can you sell it? You know, do you have anyone that you know that would like to buy this house? And it's really, I have to tell the seller, you know, it's really a disservice to them not to put their house on the market because of the multiple bids that we have. They won't see necessarily the true price they could get for their house unless they put it on the market. Or I'll say to them, well, if you put your house on the market, this is what you could possibly get. So this is the price I would go if, you know, I have people that want to buy a house in Montclair or Glen Ridge or any of the surrounding towns. This is what I would tell them this house was, you know, for sale for. But most of the time I try and talk them out of the off-market deals just because, you know, as soon as they hear they're not going to get what they really should be getting for their house, they kind of change their minds. But I had a few off-market deals last year, and people basically, you know, and I told them this is what they should get. So let's go out at this price and see what you can get.
How many of your clients are New Yorkers going out?
I would say 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow. And of the people that are going back, are they empty nesters? They're going back to the city. They're buying a pied a terre.
Say that again. Ask that question again. How many of my customers are what?
How many people? What's the percentage of your clientele that are coming from Manhattan?
I would say 9 out of 10. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. Tom, you the same?
I'd probably 7 out of 10. A lot of mine are coming from other markets that I serve, like Hoboken, Jersey City. But what's drawing them down here is one of the 2 that are potentially buying are originally from here. So many people don't even really know this part really exists unless they have that tie. So, I mean, they're from like 15-mile drive from around here. That's what's really kind of bringing them back. But, you know, they'll leave, go to New York, wherever, and then come back this way.
We only have 2 minutes left, and I want to cover one thing. Okay. It's Roberto's market report. And I got to tell you, so you can go to robertocabrera.com, and Roberto talks about buyers who are thinking about maybe next year. There is a fascinating chart here, and I want to know if it's true for New Jersey as well. This talks about the last 2 years since the pandemic, attitudes toward the real estate market. And of note, you see this green part. This is the pent-up demand post-vaccine. The yellow is the awaiting the vaccine. And once we got the vaccine, boom, they opened up the real estate markets in New York, and the real estate markets did well. Of note, you have to see this dip. This dip is labeled the mortgage rate deterrent. And after we've had this mortgage rate deterrent where everybody's bummed out by 6% mortgages, boom, you've had the mortgage rate new normal. Would you say that this is true for New Jersey as well? Did you start to see a boom when they opened up the New Jersey market post-COVID? And was there then a hangover, and now we're starting to see the second surge?
The New Jersey market was also only closed for about 2 weeks when New York was closed. So it was a very quick turnaround. I'd say the demand was probably a much higher and taller peak.
But you have good demand now, or are they bummed out with the hangover with the interest rates and they're waiting for next year?
There's still good demand. I mean, a lot of people have cash, unfortunately.
And they're
It's
not
at a
waiting for
low.
next year.
No.
So-
Yeah, we just need more houses, we just need more houses to come on the market. We don't have enough houses for all the buyers.
But
And-
the question is, when last year when mortgage rates spiked, it was a deterioration of demand in Manhattan. And now, as prices have moderated and people have gotten accustomed to it, the demand has now begun to increase again because people are used to it. And I made a comment that I think the new buyers are in a better psychological position than the people that were looking a year ago, because they don't know any different. The people that were looking a year ago, they're looking at things now that they were looking at things a year ago they cannot afford now.
Right.
Did you guys experience that?
I would say no.
Wow.
No,
Yeah, no, if at all, very briefly.
no.
And
Yeah.
John, you?
No, I mean,
No.
yes, they can afford it now. 6% interest rates are affecting, affordability. And so as you point out in your market report, if you were in the market then and you waited, you're bummed out now. The people who are just entering the market for the first time now, who don't know that 6% is expensive, they're in and they're competing hard and they're winning.
Yep. I agree.
You date the rate, but you marry the house.
Right.
There it is.
Parting thoughts, Tom, Allison.
I'm very appreciative and thankful for you having me on here. That we get some word out, and it's been a lot of fun.
And New Jersey's on sale.
New Jersey's on sale.
It doesn't sound like there's anything left to buy.
That's it, parts of it are.
For sale, but we well, if there's a home there, we'll find it for you. But yeah, the shore's I love the shore. So
There's your buyer, Tom, right there.
I know. Come on down. I'll split the deal with you.
Yeah, I grew up in Normandy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
all clear, gentlemen. We are going to take off. Have a great day.
Thanks, Andrew.
Take
you.
care.
Okay, so that was the end of our show. We never know. It's kind of a cliff. They say you're done, and
literally, I could talk for hours, but about real estate and New Jersey and.
I was trying to consolidate all that because I saw a little timer coming up.
Me too, yeah. I didn't get a lot of my thoughts in, but I got enough of them in. So this is great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope I sounded halfway intelligent.
no, it was a great
Good.
show. I
Great.
learned a lot about New Jersey, and I learned about basically in Connecticut we have a coastal market, and everything is stretched out along the one railway line and the one coast and the one I-95 along the coast. But I'm learning of two markets. You've got a market up in Montclair that is behaving according to one commute, and you've got a different market down there at the shore. And some of these people are leaving Montclair and going down to the shore. That's fascinating to me.
A lot of people in this area have houses down the shore, summer houses, and I would say, a lot of those summer houses converted into full year-round houses since, COVID. But, it's an hour and 15 minutes door to door down to Spring Lake and, Manaloking in those areas and Seabright and Rumson. And, it's a great place to be. So that's,
Are builders building as fast as they can right now, or do they have are the builders having the optimism that the market will still be there in 2 years, 3 years when they're ready to occupy?
In my market, I actually have this conversation with a lot of them because as the homes that need to be renovated or knocked down to be built down, those prices keep going up. I'm asking the builders constantly, what's your 5-10 year plan in this market? Because if they're already able to buy homes for, call it 600, knock it down, put it in a house and sell it for 2 million, those margins just got completely squeezed, especially in this rise of demand. So I think a lot of builders are having hard times, but at the same time, I'm also trying to bring more value to a lot of them by saying, hey, I have this investor, he'll finance all this, he'll finance your draws. you give me a 1% finder's fee and the listing, and we'll go from there. But if I can find some way to bring additional value to the builders who I know are struggling, then it's just giving me more market share. But that's my approach to it.
And, here, since people aren't moving out as much because of the interest rates, you see a lot of renovation and construction going on, additions being put on houses, kitchen and baths being redone. So people are, driving around town, anywhere in the towns around here, construction is going on, not new build, but construction. People love having old houses from the outside that look architecturally appealing. And then when you come inside, they have the new kitchen and new baths. So a lot of people are putting additional addition stories on the house or building out the back. And I just put an offer on a house that they just put a new $150,000 garage on the property, but didn't redo, they were gonna also make a new bathroom in the house, but first they put the garage, $150,000 garage.
They
So,
put a $150,000 car in there.
yeah, they have an EV charger, so who knows what's gonna go in there, so.
John's car.
Old school. So, thank you very much. This was a great show. I hope you guys will join us next week. We're going to do one on teams. We're going to talk about teams, real estate teams, and teams built to dominate. And so Ari Harkov is in this book. So that's why I bought this book on Harkov Lewis and others. And we've got Ari on the show next week. Louise Phillips Forbes is on the show next week. Tracy Hammerly is on the show. So it's going to be a good show. So we're gonna.
I'm glad we went on before them instead of after them, personally for me, but.
Well, now you have a week to think up your questions and ask really hardball questions of Ari.
John, do you have a team, John and Roberto? Do you guys have teams?
I have a team.
John is a big team. You're looking at it.
Me too.
And we're going to ask Roberto why that is next week on the show. So thank you both for coming. This was a great show, and hope to do this again soon.